Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope you all having a good day. Just a little stranded in paradise update for y'all. Uh, got 7 days to go. Uh, I go in on Tuesday morning, uh, to make sure it's the starter and not the chain. Um, the timing chain alone is like $700 plus, say, another 4 to 5 hours on top of that. Let's say four, cut it down a little bit. Another $400 on top of the seven just to get it installed because it's a big job. It's inside the engine. That's what makes your pistons and the moving parts in the car that actually make the engine go. And we got to figure that out because there's no way to know if the guy ever changed that out when he changed the transmission, which he probably did not do. Um, but coming up on 200,000 miles, yeah, it's about time, and they can't believe if it is only the starter, that any day now, that's next. So we got some semi good news, some semi bad news, and future holy shit news. Once that timing chain goes, the pistons and the moving parts, that's what keeps them from coming all the way out of the hole. Okay, the timing chain keeps your piston either coming up this side, this side, this side, depending on what your engine need is. So once the timing chain breaks, the pistons just fly, all the moving parts start coming out of whack and just start flying out of their little holes, and the engine is destroyed. Destroyed. There is no fixing it. You need a whole new engine. So that fund will start in August. So if it's a starter, then I've got to seriously limit my driving to just hanging out someplace for the day and where I sleep at night. Um, and hope it stays intact and I can baby this car until I could try to put some money away every month and just, I don't know, figure something out. Uh, I think what I'm going to do is have to cut down on this. I can't afford $180 a month for this on no return. So, uh, the high speed data unlimited package that I have, so everything will go up. Uh, I don't think I can really afford that anymore after sitting here for almost a week. Um, the person who's helping me is leaving today, late tonight, so she's hopefully will have time to give me a ride to the dollar store and pick up some supplies. Um, I'm gonna have to go get like 8 gallons of water, and I'm going through water insanely crazy because it's so hot. I won't be able to get ice for the cooler, so I've got to eat what I got in there or throw it out. Uh, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday will be the last cold food I'll have. Other than that, I'm going to be eating out of cans, which is not going to help me out. um, because then I'm back on solid food again. um, Trying to think what else is new. And I hope that if anybody sees these videos, they really seriously rethink doing this. This is not saving money. No way is it saving money. And I looked into when I first bought this car about getting that insurance because I was still under the 180,000 mile cutoff limit to get the used car repair insurance. That was $192 a month. A month. That was more than my car insurance was. And no, the car insurance doesn't cover repairs or anything like accidents, yes. Car repairs, no. Um, has nothing to do with that. Two separate things. Um, my package is so high because I have unlimited towing in the entire state of Florida that no matter where I am, they will take my car anywhere I want. Which I could probably cut that down if I can, but I just renewed my policy, so I don't think I can make changes until I have to renew it again. But since I'm not going to be traveling around, because we got a baby Malar, so that timing chain don't break. There's no more highway driving, no more turnpikes, no more nothing, nothing like that. A friend of mine, she was just telling me that hers went on her car. She was on 95 doing 75 miles an hour when the timing chain broke. She's lucky she wasn't killed because when that timing chain breaks, she couldn't stop the car. She had to whip off the emergency brake, and I don't even see an emergency brake in this vehicle anywhere. Anywhere. I have no idea where the emergency brake is on this car. I'm going to have to look it up somewhere. Um, yeah, that was a big time expense. The person who she was taking her car to didn't explain there was a timing chain belt. So she thought a belt's a belt, you know? They didn't explain that when the timing chain breaks, it destroys your engine. She ended up having to get a whole new engine for her vehicle. Now she's got a smaller car, and it cost her about $4,000 for that. I don't even know how much the engine is in this because this is a giant pickup truck. I'm sure those giant pickup trucks that you see, I'm sure the engine's a lot more than $4,000 for this thing, but that's why we were trying to piece it together. Um, so just a little heads up on that. If you got an older vehicle and you're closing in on 200,000 miles, you better have someone check it out because she's lucky that there wasn't anyone around her and that she could steer the car enough to get to the shoulder on I-95 with cars passing her at 90 miles an hour. You're gonna get killed if you're on a highway with that. Um, this is in no way saving you money between the gas, like I said, and the repairs and the wear and tear on your vehicle is madness. I'm hoping for the next 7 days I don't wear out my battery opening and closing my windows every, 15 minutes because it's raining. It's rainy season, so at least once an hour I have to close all the windows and click on the battery and shut all the windows. Those window motors pull a lot of electricity. So try not to think about that, but the only thing about that either is that they'd have to take the battery out and take it inside and charge it for me and bring it back, which I'm sure my boys would do for me. But it's a brand new battery and I'm probably screwing it up. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. Because I don't know how these new engines and computers and sensors and bullshit that they put in these cars that is completely unnecessary. We never had these problems in the 80s, the 70s, 80s, and the 90s, early 90s. So they started sticking computer parts in cars, so you got to keep taking it back and cost you more money. Um, you can't even do it yourself half the time now. Ugh. But this is in no way saving you money. It's not. It just isn't. Uh, if you've ever gotten a trespass ticket, how much was that? Because you were parked in a parking lot. And you came back again the next night, and the cops caught you again, and now you got hit with a trespass ticket. Um, those that can start out anywhere from $250, which around here they're more like $400 and $500. The trespassing tickets, especially if you're a repeat offender, it just keeps going up. I know somebody got a $1,500 trespass ticket for sleeping in a parking lot because they kept coming back because it was the only safe place to sleep. Um, I'm also highly reconsidering even doing this at all anymore. Um, I don't even know. I don't know. Trying to answer some questions that I've been getting. Um, oh, the why Florida? Well, why am I staying here? Because there's only 3 places in the country where I can be treated for the chemical and toxic contamination. I would have to be near in a state that has either a huge ass military base, which would have to be the Air Forces, that has a lot of jets and planes that go off, a military base that has the Navy in it with any kind of nuclear submarines or ships under nuclear power, or a state that has NASA in it and are shooting off rockets. Those are the only people who have the education to be able to treat us. I have went through 15 primary cares in 8 years living in Florida, in the first 8 years, before I could get a doctor who actually had the education to understand what happened to me. Um, the reason why only Florida, Houston, Texas, and California would be able to do that is because they're working with people who make rocket fuel. They're working with people who work on jet airplanes for the military with the jet fuel, and anybody working on any kind of nuclear powered military equipment. Um, that's just it. And the reason why only these specific states have that is because in the history of the planet, when we first started creating toxic chemicals, only the September 11th first responders are the only people on the entire planet, even including all these Chernobyl, Japan's nuclear power plant melting down, 3 Mile Island. That's nothing. Nothing. That's just over being irradiated. That's just one thing. The second thing is the 160 chemicals that we were exposed to. No human being on the planet has ever been exposed to that combination or that amount of chemicals all at once. The only people that would come close to September 11th first responders would be anybody who works at a cargo pier, who had their hazmat warehouse explode. So maybe the people in Beirut, a couple of people in some other countries, that's been a thing, you know. Uh, but basically that's it. The people who survived Chernobyl are in better shape than the September 11th first responders. This is the reason why I started this channel back in 21 when I first got my first diagnosis. And they sat me down and explained why no one could help us, why we went from doctor to doctor and no one was finding what was wrong. Nobody was qualified enough to even understand the test results they were looking at. So here I am, stuck. I ain't going to California with earthquakes, wildfires, and the crazy crap that goes on in that state. Also, in case you didn't know and you're planning on traveling west to California sometime this summer or next fall, California signed a bill a couple of days ago. I'm not sure when it goes into effect, but it is now against the law to live in your vehicle and or be homeless in the state of California. I'm not sure if it's the entire state, if it's just certain counties, where the rich people live, but that got passed and it got signed by the governor of California. Florida is one of the states that it is not a crime to be homeless because we can't, because of the amount of hurricanes. And I can't believe that California passed that law after what? What do they got to have at least 6,000 homeless people who lost their houses out there? Maybe 10,000? You're never going to get those true numbers ever. So by my estimate, because of what I did for a living, I'm estimating anywhere between 5 and 10,000 people are homeless in California. If they didn't have someone to stay with, like a relative or something like that, Low end 5, high end 10. Um, so I don't even know how they were able to do that. They have wildfires that California is always burning down. So how can you tell people that it's against the law to be homeless in a state where the houses are being burned down once a year? They can't do that here because of the hurricanes, the tropical storms, and now tornadoes every 5 seconds of the day. We had a bad hour storm yesterday that came through. My van was like this, rocking side to side to side to side. The little trees were bent over sideways. We had two storms. Now we have the daily storm coming in off the ocean and the daily storm coming from the west, colliding and exploding right over here. Right over here. Anywhere from the center of Florida to the east coast. Up and down. It was madness. If you saw the video I put up of what happened down in Miami a couple of days ago, last Friday, that was insane. That was insane. But that's what we get. So you tell me, if watching those videos you think that was worse than a hurricane, yeah, you're right. The tropical storms do more damage to property and people than the actual hurricanes do. And we got a big one coming. You got Alvin on the other side, gonna probably go up and whack California. And there's another one that's coming in on this side under, say, Puerto Rico and the islands, which is gonna end up getting pushed up, probably into the Gulf. So as it comes up to Key West, it's either gonna go right, and ride the East Coast, or it's going to go left and ride the west coast of Florida. That, I believe, is next week. The day I get the car fixed, there's big ass storms coming around the 4th of the month to the 5th. I don't know why people are continually parking right next to my car with all the windows open. I haven't figured this one out yet. Creepers. Okay, and then you got to deal with that shit. Ladies I'm speaking to. Stranded in a parking lot? Oh, yeah. That's a good thing. That's a real good thing. I don't know why this guy's parked right next to me here. And where the hell is he going? I gotta check on something. Hold on. So this guy parked right next to me to walk about a half quarter of a mile to get to this other store. And the parking lot is half empty. See what I mean? I just gotta make sure he's keeping going. And that's the other thing is that you can't relax. When you're stranded like this, ladies, you can't let your guard down for 5 seconds of the day. Do you understand me? I cannot tell you the shit I've been dealing with for the last couple of days. Okay. Right next to me. Right next to me. All my windows are open, curtains flying out the window. Okay? Would you park next to a van that had every window open in a parking lot? Absolutely not. I just wanted to see if he actually went into the store. Okay, he's actually going into the store. But no reason for him to park next to me in someone else's parking lot. I'm not in the parking lot for that store. I'm in another business's parking lot. So he parked in someone else's parking lot that he's not doing business with right next to me to walk a quarter of a mile to get to the store that he just walked into. So this is what you got to put up with. That's why I said you got to go do van life before you give up your house and you give up everything, because I'm telling you, once you give up your home address, ladies and gentlemen, your credit cards are going to figure that out. Just like they did with me. I got my first diagnosis when I had my first heart attack, that the crap's about to hit the fan any year now. And before I even made the appointment with my primary care doctor to tell him about the diagnosis, and this is before we all went on one big plan on the government's computer system, okay? Where your credit score was still private information. Somehow my credit card company found out, got into my medical records, and canceled every one of my cards. I was still working. I hadn't quit yet. And I got letters in the mail from all three of them. I had a $300 running balance on my gas card because I got reimbursed for gas. And one plain MasterCard, like just a regular Visa, and I had one department store. I had Macy's. So that when I needed something for an event that I didn't have money, we run anywhere from $5,000 a plate dinners fundraisers to $100,000 a plate fundraisers. Can't exactly wear Walmart clothes to a fundraiser where you're charging $100,000. That was the hardest part of my job. I didn't make $160,000 a year like these people did. My top salary was probably anywhere from 24 to 26,000. That's it. That's it. That's why I had considered running for office. Get a bump in salary and get out of what I was doing. It was causing hardship on my every relationship I had. Hanging out with cops and firemen for all hours of the day and night. My phone would ring at 2 a.m. I had to get up and run out the door with a bunch of hot-looking firemen and cops. That puts a damper. on any man I was dating at the time. And they couldn't deal with it. And that was that. I couldn't leave what I was doing because I was trying to help my mother keep her job as long as possible. When she went into the wheelchair, she couldn't be in two places at once anymore. So when she had to actually leave the office, I went in her place. Um, that's how I ended up starting volunteering, trying to help my mom save her job, and ended up messing up my whole life. You know, I really did. I missed out on a lot of things, but then doing my job made me happy. You know, it really did. It's like becoming. I've said this a million times. Being a first responder is the equivalent of becoming a priest. It's a calling. It's not a job choice. I can't explain it because who the hell wants to do this shit for a living? Okay? No one wants to work with toxic chemicals. You know, firemen, cops getting shot at. I mean, but being able to make a difference in someone's life when it is the worst possible day of their entire existence on the planet, you know, that's what made it worth it. I gave up my whole private life to be there for people who their life was ending. Their child died, their mother or father died. I mean, I just, and to be there for those people at that time in their life, it, it, it made me happy because I know what it's like when your whole life starts to fall apart and there not be anybody there. So I don't even know where I'm going with this. I'm just babbling and thinking a lot. You know, had I risked going to prison for 25 years to life? Yeah, it might have been a better idea. Actually, I'd be out of jail by now. Had I not shown up and I just jumped on the highway and boogied on down to Florida or hid out somewhere, then I'm sure I wouldn't have been able to hide for long. I thought about it for a good 60 seconds at a red light. I had a choice to drive to my post or jump on the highway before the roads closed down. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I had a chance to save myself, and I made the right turn and drove right into the ash cloud 3 minutes later. But I couldn't leave everyone there. I couldn't leave my friends who were closer to me than my own family. You know, we worked together every single day and night, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, every holiday. We don't get holidays off. We never see our families on holidays because we're always working. Those are our busiest times. You can't take vacation during a major holiday because that's when the crap, barbecue fires, crazy stuff. The worst catastrophes happen during the holidays. So you can't take that time off. These people give up everything for nothing in return. Nothing but heartache and sickness and cancer. Just this Memorial Day made me do a lot of thinking, you know? Made me do a lot of thinking this year. I'm sitting here with nothing to do but think and sweat and try not to die in my car for the next, 14 days, trying to come up with everything I know to do, you know, and not die a heat stroke. I got very sick. The first 2 days, I was a disaster. I cannot tell you, it's taken me a couple of days to get acclimated to the heat and to be able to breathe. I'm almost running out of this crap. It's almost empty, and this should have lasted a month. I'm sucking this down like I can't even tell you, just because it's so hot and it's humid. And now we got that Sahara dust cloud just flew in yesterday. You can't see, your eyes are itchy, um, they're burning. It's like everything that could possibly go wrong. This was the worst possible time for this to even happen. My worst case scenario come true twice. Well, 3 times. First was 9/11, then it was Richard, and now this. So please rethink your van life issues. Make sure you either have a lot of money in the bank or an unlimited credit card that no one's going to cancel once you become homeless with no home address, now that UPS has taken that away. Yeah. And supposedly that was nationwide, because I hear people complaining about all kinds of stuff. Um, about UPS, and they're like investigating like every single person who has a post office box, checking, running your name to see where your mail is going to and your home address. I mean, they're really cracking down on that severely here, especially because it's gotten out of control with 18 million people moving into the state of Florida who don't live here and are living in their vehicles because they think this is the place to be. I don't know why anyone would come here with the crazy weather and the heat, but for some reason everybody just flocked to the state. I mean, yeah, I understand, during the lockdown period, people got tired, but it's just too much. It's just we are so overpopulated and so overcrowded that I couldn't believe I made all those phone calls the other day, and there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. We can't get the hurricane victims are still living in tents. Half of their houses haven't even been started. Look at the people in California. 18 permits were handed out. That's it. They got permits that got handed out, and then they got halted because of that little turtle that's this big, or the frog, or whatever it is, that's no bigger than my pinky nail. They stopped the construction in California. Nobody's allowed to fix or clean their property like that lady promised. Live on TV. She stopped it all. They whacked, signed another paper. Oh, sorry, the frog is more important than 5,000 people and children. Children living in the street with nowhere to go. But that little frog that's as big as my pinky nail here is more important. Now you know why I quit. Part of my job. One of my jobs. I had 5 jobs for the same paycheck. So, now working for the government sucks. Unless you're a congressman or a senator. And I'm just glad I didn't waste my time thinking that I was going to do more good there and get stuff done. And that's it. I'm going to crack down and get in there. And thank God I didn't put my paperwork in. I was 2 weeks away from putting my paperwork in and running for office. And maybe I should have took the job as mayor. I should have stayed and kicked that ass out. I don't know. Wouldn't have done much good up there because they're still lying to everybody up there. That's why everybody is down here. Trying to figure out what's wrong with them because they're being lied to up in New York and New Jersey still. So I think I'm done bitching. I really want people to understand what this is like because you're watching people with these edited videos. Oh, the car broke down. And click, click, click. Edit, edit, edit. Oh, everything's fine. No, it's not fine because they cut out the part where they were stranded in Walmart parking lot for 7 days and trying to get the money to pay for the car repairs, number one, and then try to get an appointment in a state that's this overcrowded with people living in their cars. You know, it could take you 6 months to get an appointment to get your oil changed in Florida. At certain times of the year, you can't do it because they're booked up in advance by the people coming and going who don't live here full time, screwing things up for the people who do live here full time. Good luck with that. Twice a year, you cannot get your oil changed. You can't get your car worked on, brakes done, nothing, nothing. You can't get nothing done unless you made an appointment 6 months in advance to get that done. That's another shitty thing about living here. That you just can't get your car fixed when you need it. You could wait a month. Um, so yeah, really think about what you're doing. Think about where you're going. Okay, where you plan on making home. You know, it's just, this is only fun if you can afford the $50 a day in a campground. Now you're looking at like $1,200 a month. You're still paying rent. So how is anybody saving rent money when they're spending $40 to $50 per night in a campground? Besides the water bill, unless you're getting free water that you think is safe to drink. You know, between the water, the gasoline, and the campground and the car repairs, you're not saving any rent money. You're just not. The extra oil changes because you're racking up mileage on the car. Okay? No one is saving rent money. No one. Unless you got 100,000 subscribers, they're all sending you $1 a month. That's it. That's it. Those are the only people saving rent money, is if you're pulling in at least $2,000 a month. Those people are saving rent money, not people like me. Or your average schmo who's only got 30,000 subscribers. Okay? Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's no saving money out here. There isn't. Plus the amount of car washes you need to do, you need to keep, and your brakes. Holy crap, that's next. I have so many things coming up on this van that I have no idea what to take care of first. I really don't. I don't. I'm going to have them after they're done with this. Check out the brakes and let me know how long I have on those. Right now they're 3 years old. They just turned 3 this year. I don't do a lot of driving, which is good, but I need to keep the wheels clean, especially down here with the sand and the salt and the crap and getting in to the brakes and making them dirty and grinding. Just look what happened to my windshield from the sand that was built up on one of my windshield wipers. Scratched my entire windshield like this. It's like a half a rainbow, and it's that wide. The smudge and where it just ate away the glass. Because why? Because it was hot. Because it's 110 degrees on that glass window, and now any kind of dirt, any kind of anything, now every day I have to get out there with a wipey and Windex and clean off my windshield wipers. Who does that? Do you do that once a week? Or you got to do it down here? This is a never ending job. This is 24 hours a day. You're doing stuff to live in your car. Not to mention running for ice and water every 20 minutes, unless you got a bunch of poisonous batteries sitting under your bed emitting toxins and radiation. And everybody sticks them under the bed. Not to mention inhaling diesel fumes in your car with the diesel heaters. Let me know after you've been living in your car for, 15 years from now, when you get lung cancer from the fumes from diesel. You understand? I see a lot of bad stuff that people are doing. Oh, you get used to the smell. If you can smell it, you're breathing it in, and eventually you're going to end up with lung cancer, kidney cancer, or liver cancer. My father was so poisoned by diesel fuel, it was unbelievable. And the man wore gloves and eye gear while he was delivering the stuff, It wasn't touching the diesel gasoline, which is bad enough, because he was all suited up when he delivered to make sure that shit never touched him, because you can never get, A, you can't get the smell off of you, but B, him sitting there pumping it, even though he didn't touch it, he was inhaling the vapors that killed his liver, his kidneys, and his lungs, besides the army bullshit. And that, they can tell the difference. When you get down into that DNA blood work, oh yeah, they sectioned everything off. They even had the years. And they pinpointed it to the years while he was on leave or had time off and was working with Hess and Shell and Mobil, who were hiring military men when they were off duty for 6 or 9 months in between missions or deployments, and giving them a job. So I really hope if you watch this, you'll think twice about doing this. And if you have no choice, now you know what you're looking at. And hopefully can prepare for that. You know what I mean? It's very expensive. Then you got Starlink. That's $150 a month just for the internet. That's not your phone. you know that's running this, but you still got to pay for the service through the phone company to have this turned on. So where are you saving money? My bill is more than it was in my house just to be able to put these videos up, because it doesn't matter about your unlimited data plan for $25 a month. You need high speed data to live stream. You need high speed data to get these videos up in 3 hours instead of 6. That's the other thing. My batteries are overheating so bad I can barely get them charged. Now, how do I cool them off when I constantly got to recharge it? Or plug it in. All right, I get one battery charge. I have to run one of these, aiming it at the battery front and back in between to keep the battery cool enough to charge it. The wires are overheating. These plugs, Holy crap, this little thing was so hot, I couldn't touch it. Right? Who loves you but Jane? Right? I ain't lying. Number one, I can't lie. Okay, I'm under federal oath. I still work for these assholes. Sorry, but you know you are. I am bound by the law to tell you the truth and not exaggerate in any way, shape, or form. And I've said that before. Jane don't lie because Jane can't lie. Okay, I'm bound to the law to explain truth to you without exaggeration or lying about it. And yeah, people might not like that, but I'm giving you as much honest advice that I possibly can. You know, I'm a certified medic, besides being a first responder. Trying to give you as much medical, say, advice as I can about how bad this is on you physically. And if you have any kind of heart problem, breathing problem, any issue, just the arthritis alone, being outside is unreal, unbelievable. And you're going to be taking anti-inflammatories by the dozens, and they're not gonna work. They don't work. They work inside an air conditioning in your house. But sitting out here in the heat with this, while you're sweating and swelling from the heat, because it's the heat and the hot air that's inflaming your bones. I'm in so much pain in my 2 hips from the cancer. I cannot tell you. And there's nothing I can do to take away the pain. At this point, nothing is working. The other pills they gave me are way too strong. I can't take them out here. I can't be half unconscious in my band, whacked out on cancer pain medication. You people have no idea. No idea what pain medication. You think friggin' Percocet and Oxycontin and woohoo. That is nothing compared to what they give you when you're stage 4 bone cancer. That shit knocks you out for days. For days. You couldn't even wake up. You would never even hear the cops banging on your door. Somebody could be breaking in. You are out cold. And I mean for hours. I took that one pill last year. That was it. I haven't been able to take another. I still have the whole bottle. That crap is unbelievable. I'm practically, it's like morphine in a pill. You're gone. You're gone, and you can't stop it. That's the problem with taking pills. So once you take something like that out here, you can't stop a pill. You can't alter it. You can't eat or drink something like if, you're smoking the devil's lettuce. You take a sip of sugar. You eat a candy bar. Is gone. It's over. It stops it. That's one thing. Pills, until it's processed through your liver and your kidneys, that's it. You're under the influence for days with that crap. And if you get caught and you're that screwed up on your pain medication and you're in your vehicle, that's under the influence. Do you understand? The other thing is whether or not you have permission to be parked in a parking lot, say, or you're hanging out in Walmart, drinking in your vehicle, that's drinking in public. Do you understand? So sitting here on your live streams and getting drunk and doing shots, that, oh, yeah, hey, party time. You're drunk in public, and you're getting drunk in your car in a place you're not supposed to be, that you're technically trespassing. And if the cops ask you to move your car, okay, depending on what state you live in or who you get showing up, the minute you start your car, you're being arrested for drunk driving, open containers, drinking in public. You're going to get like 4 different tickets, violations, just on having a couple of beers or a couple of shots while you're doing your live streaming. Unless you're in a country where no one gives a shit. But here, you guys are taking big chances. I see a lot of you doing that. A lot of you doing that, and you're on the side of the road. You're not in a campground. That's one thing. You're hanging out in a campground and you're parked, you ain't going anywhere, that's fine. But sitting in Walmart's parking lot getting drunk on your live streams is, you are taking a huge chance on losing your license, getting your car towed away. You're going to get arrested. You're going to lose your car. It's going to go to the police impound yard, and that's going to be $150 to $180 per day to get your car out. And then you're going to need a lawyer for the drinking in public crap. Then you're going to have to pay probably anywhere from $800 to $1,500 fine, depending on how hammered you were when the cops rolled up on you in Walmart. So I wanted to say something about that for a while, and I just wanted to add this all in because I'm not sure when I'm coming back. I'll let you know what happens on Tuesday, but right now this is so depressing. I don't even know what to say. I really don't. You know, I believe the bullshit story too. Okay? I had to. My life fell apart. Okay, I lost my child. A year later, I lost my husband. And a year after that, I lost my house. Due to the 2 hurricanes and that tropical storm that blew through that year. We got whacked by a trifecta that year. And had no choice but to make a hotel room on wheels for evacuations. And thank God I thought of that. That's the only reason why this car got done. It wasn't to do van life. I knew I couldn't afford a hotel room at $200 a night if something happened to my car, happened to the house. I'm not going to sit there at the Hilton at $180 a night because they jacked up the price 3 weeks before the hurricane came, and then they put a cap on it, because no one is doing anything about that, Mr. DeSantis. He lets those hotels jack up the prices 3 weeks when they even think one's coming. Vroom, those prices go through the roof. And then they say, okay, 5 days before the hurricane comes, we put a cap on it. Can't price gouge. No, because everybody price gouged 3 weeks before the hurricane came. The minute that little cell got a name, that was it. That's it, up through the roof. And how do I know this? Because my grandmother was a regional manager for Hilton Hotels. Since I was in 7th grade, I was trolling her. Well, it's called shadowing her. Learning how to become a manager of a hotel, and that's what I was going to do, and I ended up being that after I walked out on elections in 2008, because I didn't want to do that crap anymore. I didn't want nothing to do with computerized voting of any kind, and I went back to work for Hampton Inn, extended stay hotel. Should have stayed there. I made a lot of stupid things thinking I was going to make more money, and I jumped from the frying pan into the fire by going to work for the cargo piers. So, yeah, make sure you really overthink and think of every worst case scenario of any decision you're about to make, because I made 3 bad choices which stuck me in the line of fire on September 11th because I wanted something better. I wanted more money. I wanted more time off. Well, I got plenty of time off now. Really, really think before you leap. If I can give anybody better advice out of all the shit I've been through in the last 20 fucking years, it's never greener on the other side. It just looks that way. Trust me, there's always something to any kind of decision you're gonna make. Stay where you are because it's never gonna be what you want it to be. Unless you're a rocket scientist, you know? But if you're an everyday person and you got a good job and a good paycheck and is decent, stay where you are. Stay where you are. And really, really think about what you're about to do because I made some snap decisions that had I not made, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So, yeah, just going over life choices in my head, you know? Oh, God. So I'm going to end this here. This is almost an hour. This will probably take 2 days to get this crap up. It's like 7:30 in the morning, and it's 90 degrees. The sun just came up. 90 degrees at 7 a.m. Love to you all. And that's it. I will see you in a few days. And fingers crossed on Tuesday, 9 a.m., say some prayers. Okay? Because they won't know 100% until they put the starter in. And they're going to go through all of that just to make sure. Because if it isn't the starter, they're just going to remove it, put it back in the box, and put it back on the shelf. They're not even going to charge me if the starter is not the issue. Which is the only good thing. Because I won't even... I wouldn't have enough money to do the timing chain at that point. I'll still be living in that park, and I'm gonna have the car towed back to where I'm staying right now, and then take the car back again when I raise the rest of the money for the timing chain. And that I'm looking at $1,200 if that's the worst case scenario. That's why I put up 600 just in case. With my 600, well, 700, I still have some money left over. And which I'm trying not to spend, but without my friend gonna be here, I have to lay out money for the next 7 days today. If she has enough time to take me to the dollar store. Okay, I'm gonna leave. It's been an hour. I really hope that this helps somebody in some way really make a decision before they jump head first into this, because living on the street ain't no prize. Not to mention the fact that 5 men surrounded my car at 3 in the morning at a Cracker Barrel. Okay? That was not a fun experience. I had 5 guys yanking on every door of the vehicle, the hatch, the sides, the front, the driver's side. They were yanking on every single door, banging on the windows, trying to smash my windows in and open my doors, hoping I forgot to lock them. That was my entrance into van life. That happened within the first 3 months I was out here. Thinking I was safe at the Cracker Barrel? Oh, hell no. They're a bunch of heroin addicts that just look good because they took a shower and had nice clothes on. You'd never known these people were drug addicts in any way. Nope. Nope. Out there giving you the sob story about being a veteran. I don't think any one of them was ever in the military. No way. No way. Um, because I can tell who's who. Um, just by their physical being. Okay? People can say whatever they want, but their physical being is a dead giveaway to whether you were in the military. And I'll give that up later on. And it's two very distinct physical characteristics of men who've been in the military. And I'll give you that next time, okay? But do not trust that nice old man who is 70 years old and the other guy's 80. Yeah, nobody was under the age of 65 who was trying to rip my car doors open that night. And if you think all that was going to happen, that they were going to get money, honey, I wouldn't be here. They would have took my car, dumped my body in the fucking swamp, and took off with everything I owned. Do you understand? They were going to rob me, rape me, and throw me into a fucking swamp. Okay? I was never going to survive that attack. Ever. Not in a million years. 5 guys, 6 bullets. Better pray I didn't miss. You know what I mean? There was no way I was winning that scenario if I didn't get into that car seat and just drive off with them hanging on. I went right to the cops, told them what happened. That's how I ended up meeting the sheriffs. That was the incident, how I met all the sheriffs. And so yeah, this ain't fun and games, and it ain't as safe as these people are letting you think it is. Okay? Please be careful. Have a good week. And I'll probably see you guys on Friday because I'm going to need a couple of days after this. You know, I can't even cry because every time I started crying on Memorial Day, yesterday, Monday, and I caused myself to have an asthma attack. If not, I'd be on the floor crying my freaking eyes out right now, but I can't because it's too humid. So before I start crying and give myself an asthma attack and I'm running out of this shit that I can't go get, hashtag van life, living my best life ever, right? Suck it. I love you. Take care of yourselves. Have a great week. And I'll probably see you on Friday because I won't be able to do this again for a couple of days. Bye, everybody. Stay safe out there if you're living in your car because it's getting hot. People are getting stupid and bad shit's happening at night, okay? With the heat brings stupidity, okay? Winter's been fairly quiet, but this last 2 weeks it's been 100 degrees here. People are losing their minds, okay? Love you. Take care. Have a good week. See you Friday. Bye, everybody.